Hi folks, welcome to Crisco's Corner, unfiltered commentary, and that's your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Hi folks, welcome back. From timcast.com, support for gun control hits lowest point since 2014. Now, don't think that they're talking about restricting Second Amendment rights. They're expanding. And I shouldn't even say expanding. They're going to what the founders had intended. I am not a gun person, but I strongly believe in the Second Amendment. In fact, I strongly believe in what Dave Chappelle said. The Second Amendment is second, just in case the First Amendment doesn't work out. And I believe that to be true, even though it's funny. That's the thing about good comedians, even though I agree with their political stances. When they say something funny, it's hitting a bigger point. And I'm very encouraged by this. This is huge in a lot of ways. That people are seeing that your rights under the Constitution that have been getting eroded and eroded and eroded for decade after decade after decade is starting to get some pushback. It's a little late, but better late than never. Let's read on. And this is by Cassandra Fairbanks, by the way, who I like a lot. She used to be on Tim Pool's show, Timcast IRL, and now she's a writer for them. She does other sites as well. I don't agree with everything she says, but I think she's really cool. I like Cassandra. Tells it like it is, man. She gives her opinions, and she doesn't give a good damn if you like it or not, but she's a reporter in this, so she's just reporting what's going on. Support for more gun control in the United States has hit its lowest point since 2014, according to a new poll. A Gallup poll released on Wednesday found that American support for strict gun control has fallen 5 percentage points to 52%. Gallup has been tracking the public's views on the measure since 1990. When the nation's crime rate was high and a record 78% of Americans supported stricter laws for gun sales. Since then, calls for tougher gun control have generally spiked in the wake of prominent mass shootings and faded as the memory of each receded. Gallup reported that most of the recent findings, as recently as 3 years ago, after the Parkland, Florida school shooting, support for increased gun control rose 67%. That's, that's just a knee-jerk, I think, emotional reaction that they're basically saying if we had really strict gun control laws, a lot of these mass shootings wouldn't happen, which is nonsense. No more than you'd say somebody's been caught for DWI, and they've had DUIs, 3 or 4 of them, and we're restricting the person from driving a vehicle, their license, all that stuff. Doesn't mean they can't get a car. Just because it's not legal to get a gun doesn't mean you're going to have one. I mean, the one that was the guy is when one of the guys that was shot and survived in a Rittenhouse case had a gun illegally. I mean, come on, give me a break. You can get them if you want to. I mean, fentanyl and heroin's illegal. When I had a store for over 20 years in kind of a low-income neighborhood in upstate New York, I'd get damn near anything I wanted to if I asked somebody. So it's just because it's unlawful doesn't mean you can't use it or get it. The sharp decline in support was driven mainly by Republicans whose support for stricter gun control laws dropped 14 points to 22%. I'm surprised it's that high. The lowest point for this group of voters on record. There was also a 15-point drop in support for tighter gun controls among independents. Sometimes the independents and the Republicans mirror each other. Meanwhile, support for more restrictions rose to 91% amongst Democrats. It's amazing to me. And I remember one time, one of the very few things of any topic of any importance that Bernie Sanders talked about. Now, he's a senator from Vermont, as we all know. And he's a radical socialist and makes no bones about it. Well, at least he tells it the way he feels. I'll give him credit for that, I guess. But a few years ago, they asked him in a few interviews about the 2A, Second Amendment gun control issue. And he said rightfully so. That's why you're seeing this huge discrepancy amongst Democrats at 91% want more restrictions and independents and Republicans don't, because Bernie Sanders said, and rightfully so, this is an urban heavy residential area. In other words, urban to rural issue. People live in big major cities where the population is so dense tend to overwhelmingly favor gun control. Well, people that live in smaller municipalities outside of big cities overwhelmingly favor gun control or gun rights. So he said that, and he's absolutely right. One of the few things that I couldn't disagree with Bernie Sanders on. 56% of majorities favor keeping laws for the sale of firearms as they are now. Now, I live in New York State. I live in Binghamton in upstate New York. I think the Constitution should be done as read. You have a right to have one, period. I mean, you know, if you go to apply for a gun permit, you got to go through all this nonsense. I can see violent felons. I can see certain criminals. In other words, if you stole $20,000 from your employer and that's a felony, should that restrict your use of exercising your Second Amendment rights? No. So it's going to depend. There are some exceptions. People with violent past and violent convictions, not people that are accused of violent crimes. I think it's absolutely ridiculous with these red flag laws where you got to fill out all this stuff and put down your ex-spouse or your ex-girlfriend or boyfriend. And they're going to ask him, of course, if there's a bad breakup, they're going to say, yeah, he's crazy as hell. Blah. And they come to his house and take their guns. And then you have to go to court to prove that you're not a nutcase. That's exactly the opposite of what our legal system is supposed to be about. You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, not guilty until you prove yourself innocent. That's nonsense, but that's what was happening. The right to bear shall not be infringed, period. I really believe that truly. And in fact, those that think that crime will go up is absolute nonsense. Look at rural areas. Tim Pohl lives in West Virginia. He was a very, very strong anti-Second Amendment person for a long time. I mean, really anti. And he changed his perspective once he moved out into rural areas. And you have a right to defend yourself. And this is why the Rittenhouse case is so important. This isn't really about Kyle Rittenhouse, a young kid that probably shouldn't have been there to begin with, but he was. He has the right to be there. He has the right to open carry in Wisconsin, all those good things. This is about the fight on fundamental rights of an individual. In this case, the right of self-defense. There's many states, I think New Jersey is one, that somebody kicks in the front door of your apartment with a gun, and you don't retreat first to try to get away from that person, and you shoot them first, you go to jail. Mandatory retreat, I forget what the term is called. And I think in New Jersey, you have to leave the premises. Well, you can't do that in an apartment, obviously. If you're on the first floor, they'll say you could have went out the window, or you could have went out the back door in your house. It's crazy. You have to do everything possible not to kill the person that's trying to kill you. That's nuts, but that's what this is about. This is way bigger than Kyle Rittenhouse, way bigger. This is about the fundamental attack on individual rights of Americans. That's why I think our system is so unique and so much better than every major country, Western country in the world. We have our rights spelled out. Now, do we always follow them? No, but they're there. They're there. There's nowhere in the world where your rights are spelled out. And they almost didn't go in the Constitution, but thankfully they did. And we have an amazing, great system. Sometimes we misuse it. Sometimes we don't. But it's there. Support for a ban on handguns has also reached the lowest point on record. Support for banning citizens' ownership of handguns peaked at 60%, the initial measure in 1959. Now, I was born in 56. I'm a little surprised it's that high. After that first reading, it never rose to the majority level and has been a little 30% since 2008. That's a great sign. Everybody thinks that through the last couple of generations, teachers, professors, the media in general has started to slowly brainwash a couple of generations into thinking way left and progressive. This is an excellent sign. After that first reading, it never rose to the majority. Today's 19% favoring such a ban is an all-time low and down 6 points in the last year. Now, I'll stop it with this, or finish up with this. They said gun sales, I think, in 2020, mostly, I'm sure, because of the rioting and burning and people dying. Several dozen, from what I gather, and billions in property damage. Arson. Arson's a big deal. I've been in a building that's been burning down and almost got burned up. It's a big deal. Is women, minority women, suburban women that are usually leaning left as a rule, are seeing that they need protection. And there's no greater equalizer for a 100-pound woman walking across the parking lot at night to go to her car than a handgun. That makes them equal. And you talk to anybody that's in, when they train, target practice, go to gun ranges, and they instruct people on proper use of firearms and safety and such. The vast majority of new people that come there are women. And I'm extremely encouraged by that, because women has always been the big nut that the Republicans and the conservative people can't crack. Suburban women of all races. Believe me, there's a lot of innocent people being killed in major cities through gang violence. And believe it for a minute, that if these gang members knew that these people they prey on, they kill each other, other gang members, I get it, territorial fights and other things. But they're killing a lot of innocent people. And if they thought for a minute, just like if you go deer hunting, I think it was George Carlin that said, you want to make it even, arm the deer. Well, you know, it's funny in a way, but he's trying to make a point. If these gang members know that these people they prey on are going to fight back with firearms, it's going to make their thinking a little bit different. And I think the more responsible firearm owners there are, the more trained firearm owners there are, that will bring down crime dramatically. It's been proven over and over and over. No, let the progressives and the leftists tell you any different. Sorry to ramble on, but I think this is very, very encouraging. It's the lowest point that it's been in my lifetime, and it's amazing. Maybe the average person, the average Joe, the average Jane walking around isn't so brainwashed as the progressives think they are. So this is great news, and I'm encouraged by it. And there's maps. You go on Wikipedia and go gun laws. You'll see there's a little video, a short video that shows states that basically won't give you a handgun permit at all, and then shall issue, may issue. Shall issue means you have to do it. And slowly over time, the vast majority of states now are shall issue. And I think it's Vermont, and I think there's one other that's no restriction at all. So this is amazingly encouraging. So some of us on the conservative side, when we see we're fighting the culture war, and it's a tough battle, and we get discouraged, look at this. The populace is waking up to their rights under the Constitution. That's all we've ever wanted. So something to cheer about. And until next time, goodbye and good luck.